It is another episode of the Golden Bee podcast. We are back. It is Sunday, June 11th, just after 11 a.m. I'm speaking with Niall Donohue from C's Plus Baseball. Niall is also the in-game announcer for the Vancouver Canucks when they are at their home games. So, Niall, welcome. How are you?
Well, thanks a million again for having me on, Ben. Doing all right. Looking forward to the next homestand, which will be,
Yeah,
as it turns out already, the final homestand of the first half of the season, a
right.
first half that hasn't gone according to Hoyle, to say the least. But there's been some
Yeah,
good moments here and there.
yeah.
But overall, not the way that the C's wanted to start the year, but thankfully, second half coming up later this month.
Yeah, and I was looking at some stuff yesterday because they beat Tri-City 14-2 on Friday, and I was writing the batter's box update for Saturday morning, and I jokingly put on there the Canadians get 2 touchdowns as the CFL kicks off its opening weekend. But obviously, when I dug through, I mean, that was quite the game uh, for like a couple of guys, right? Jacob Sharp was DHing, not catching. That went to Hayden Gilliland, and then obviously Brennan Orff. But those guys each in that Friday game each had three or six trips to the plate, right? And then obviously Freethy Manny Beltre had 5 trips to the plate. Tucker Toman had 4 at bats. So that was a pretty big breakout for the season, that series. How did they fare in Saturday's game?
Not quite as well, unfortunately, and that's really been the story of the season. Yep, the C's offense has shown the capability to blow up at times, and then unfortunately they tend to fizzle the next time around. But speaking of Friday's game, the one thing that jumped out to me on the box score was Tucker Tobin, 5 runs scored. You don't see that every day. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
that
know.
was a great game for the C's to break out, but unfortunately. It's just been the story of the season. Yes, I believe, runs differential wise, the Canadians should have a better expected win-loss record, hovering near 500, but unfortunately that's not the case. They're kind of been battling with Spokane for getting out of the basement of the Northwest League. So uh, it just goes back to starting pitching. For the most part, the C's have had a pretty good turn through the rotation. There have been some bumps in the road too, but it's just been about consistency, and unfortunately, it hasn't been there for the Canadians most nights.
Right.
One section works well, the offense is going, and then it's the pitching that's going, then the offense isn't, or maybe the bullpen can't hold a lead. Yeah, it's just been something like that, as you just bring up right now. Yeah, the
Kind of
Canadians,
in a
if
good
you're
spot.
going by runs scored, runs allowed,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, plus 12 you see there in the run column. They should be slightly above 500, but in the end, you look at Everett as well. Yeah, they could have same record as Everett, but in the end, Eugene, they've just been on fire this first half. Even though Eugene's kind of slowed down a little bit, and it must be nice to slow down when your winning percentage is just now below 680 when it was at 700 for really the majority of the season. So. Yeah, it's just it hasn't been a great first half for Vancouver overall. There have been some bright spots, but I mean overall, you like to see them higher up in the standings. But the good news is second half rolls around, the records reset 0-0, and these teams will be battling it out to see who will face the Emeralds in the Northwest League final.
Well, I was thinking a few things about your comments too. Now, I think about 2022 through 2024 when it was the season Spokane, always battling each other, and the Seas winning a Northwest League championship in 2023, and then Spokane beating us in 2024, and just the way that Spokane team was for those couple of years, like Vancouver's team. And I kind of thought, I mean, obviously it's not a fault of Seas manager Jose Mayorga. I think it's maybe just where the Seas players and the players in the system are at in the development cycle. And when you think about when Brent LaValle was here, I don't think it's management. I think it's just the nature of the guys going through and what's happening in the league was my thought, right? Because Spokane and Vancouver in the last few years were the top 2 teams.
Yeah, that's just kind of the way it goes sometimes. The development cycles, as you mentioned, and right now things are on the low end. But
Yeah.
the Canadians, they've had a couple of injuries too. I think the tone was kind of set early in the season. The Canadians losing a couple of tough games in Tri-City. They came back here 0-3. Then eventually they were able to get their record back to 500 at 9-9. And if you may recall that it was Tri-City who was in town. They were able to win the first 3 games against the Dust Devils at the Nat. But then, they were so close to at least winning the series. And as it turned out, Tri-City was able to bounce back, win the next three, and the Canadians haven't sniffed 500 cents, unfortunately. And it's just kind of been up and down since then. So it's just been that kind of month and that kind of first half, really, for Vancouver.
Yeah, and I was just looking at some other notes because obviously I did my Batters Box update yesterday. Check out battersbox.ca if you want all the cool and interesting Blue Jays news, and we'll throw that in the chat. And I did an update yesterday, so I was doing whenever, just so people who are listening know, whenever you do a minor league update on a place like Batters Box, you're covering Vancouver. You're starting at Dunedin, you're covering Vancouver, you're covering New Hampshire, and you're covering obviously Buffalo. So good way to get this update. And I was looking at some other guys in terms of who's made their move. So obviously Carter Cunningham got his first hit at Double-A on Friday for the Fisher Cats. He's recently been promoted, so that's positive. Obviously, before the last time we talked, or after the last time we talked, Arjun Niall is now at Double-A. Maybe we can check in and talk a little bit about him. Cunningham, obviously, I don't know where a guy like Peyton Williams is at right now, too.
Peyton Williams right now, I believe, from what I've heard, it's a wrist issue, so that's why he has been playing the last few games during the homestand, and why he hasn't seen any action really at all this week against Tri-City. So he's been on the shelf for a bit. But you speak of Carter Cunningham, good for him to get the promotion. Got off to a tremendous start this year. He was among the leaders in home runs in the Northwest League, finishing up, I believe, with 10. It was 10 home runs he had, and character individual as well. So yeah, good to see him. And that kind of led to a chain of events there with Sean Keyes getting bumped up to AAA Buffalo after a tremendous start he's had at AA New Hampshire. And we've seen it with the big club as well. Adam Macko recently getting promoted to the Blue Jays. And Hayden Yinger also getting a cup of coffee. He was with the Canadians in 2021. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see him here in Vancouver. That was the Hillsborough season. But also Chad Dallas, who was here in Vancouver 2020.
Thank you.
And 2023. Yeah, great to see, and getting the win in his major league debut. And
yeah, exactly.
Good. Yeah, really good guy. Really, really happy for him. Those are the things that kind of made the season for me anyway, as far as the Blue Jays go. Of course, the Blue Jays have been pretty disappointing in 2026. But to me, that's been the highlight. Seeing the guys that you've seen here in Vancouver finally getting their first taste of the show. So that to me has been the good news so far of the season.
Yeah, and a good plug to also to Steve Ewan. I read the article the other day from the province. He had shared something about an article he did on Chad Dallas way back in 2023, and how much Chad at the time, I remember reading it and saying how much he liked being here, meeting Chad, and how much he liked Vancouver. And now he's obviously with the big club. But let's keep things moving a little bit here, because actually Nolan Perry was Northwest League Pitcher of the Month. So that's a nice bit of positive news from last week. Just going to share Tyler's press release here. For those who don't know, Tyler Zickel is obviously the C's broadcaster and media guy. But here's a little bit on Nolan Perry. So tell me a little bit more about Nolan Perry. Now, obviously, we're going to look at the release, but some impressive numbers here. Yeah,
Nolan Perry's been tremendous since coming up to Vancouver, and his ERA has been pretty much microscopic for the most part, as you see there on your screen there, 3-1, 1.08 ERA, as piling up the strikeouts. So, when you're striking out 14.4 per 9 innings, that lets you know how dominant he's been. The stuff is definitely there for him, and for the most part, he's showed he can handle the Northwest League, and I don't think he's going to be in Vancouver too much longer. I'd be very surprised. I'd be very surprised if he's here in the second half. Let's put it that way. So, I think any C's fans, maybe you could say, arguably the best prospect we've had here since Trey is Savage. That's how dominant he has been. I mean, we've had a lot of good arms come through, but if you want to see this guy pitch, be a good idea to make sure to see him here when the T's back in town to take on Everett later this week. So, tremendous stuff. Strikes out a ton of batters. And, this is definitely he's definitely been one of the breakout stories of the Blue Jays farm system in 2026.
Okay. I'm going to share this one now for you. You can see that one. We talked about this one off the air. We'll try and rejig this a little bit so we can both see it. But you put this out and you posted this yesterday on Batter's Box after I put up a post there. Tell us a little bit more about Sam Shaw, obviously from Victoria, but I mean, the story might be of interest just because he's a Victoria kid, but I think it's a little bit more than that.
It is. Yeah, we had Sam up here briefly. He joined the Canadians for a bit, and looking forward to see him kind of get adjusted to the Northwest League level. Didn't really happen. He was sidelined for the latter part of the season after he was called up from Dunedin and was really enjoying his best success as a pro last year with the Dunedin Blue Jays.
Right.
The first hint that I received that something wasn't quite right in the press box, there was a get well card that was being circulated. We were all asked to sign it for Sam and hoping he got better. Really had no details until just recently what it was about. As it turns out, as Sam revealed, thoracic outlet syndrome. And of course, I guess the collarbone and the shoulder. So that's kind of affecting blood flow. So, but yeah, it's good. Sam did come back with the Florida Coastal League Blue Jays, and that was just rehabbing recently, Dunedin. And by all indications, it looks like he's back with the team now, probably with the team in Tri-City. Who knows? Maybe he'll be playing today, but I'm sure if not today, I'm sure we're going to see him Tuesday after that with the Caesar back to take on the Everett Aqua Sox for Hot Dog Tuesday. So,
yeah, I was going to say, because there's some stuff coming up about the Canadians at the Nat, and there's obviously the Hot Dog Tuesdays, which I have yet to explore because I know I'd probably eat too many. And we've already talked on this show. I mean, you really got your hot dog options there, right? I mean, you can throw in some humor. It doesn't have to be all baseball. You've got your regular hot dogs. Now they're 75 cents. You got your foot-long hot dog. And then you got your 3-foot yard dog, which is still there.
That's right. And add Addison Barger bobblehead day. So
I was going to say that next. So let's talk a little bit about that because that's pretty significant because I recall when first going back to the Nat, and I can't remember the number of days it was, 1,000 days or whatever it was, because I went 2019 new game, and then who knew COVID was coming, and then the 2021 season down in Hillsborough, right, where the Vancouver Canadians were a home team and an away team in Hillsborough because they couldn't cross the border.
That's right.
I have some pretty distinct memories of Addison, but you share some of yours as well.
Well, it's just I kept thinking he was only here with the Canadians in 2022, and yes, technically he was here in Vancouver in 2022, but he was with the Canadians in the Hillsborough season, called up during the last week of the year. So 2021, 2022 alumnus of the Canadians. But Addison Barger, I'll tell you what, he wasn't here for a long time, but for a good time. He homered quite a few times over the right field fence. Those are some of my memories of him. I was able to get a chat with him just before his promotion during the final homestand of his tenure here in Vancouver, because the next road trip was Everett. And I just remember, I believe he had 3 doubles in the series finale at Funko Field. And then that was it. He was called up to Double-A. So I was very fortunate enough to get a chance to speak with him before he went on to bigger and better things now with the Blue Jays. So, that's what I remember about Addison. A lot of the home runs he would poke over that right field fence. And, it's not Nat Bailey Stadium is not a hitter's park at all, really. It's definitely more designed for the pitchers. Even though the dimensions, you would think, 380 or 385 to straightaway center, and 335, I believe, down the right field line, and 325 or 320 feet the left field porch. But no, I guess it's just the way it is. I mean, it's not like Everett where any fly ball is a chance to leave the ballpark. But certainly Addison Barger, was able to display his raw power, his in-game power here at Nat Bailey Stadium. So that's what I remember about him wearing number 9. So, a lot of good memories with Addison Barger in 2022.
Yeah, I was just looking back at your website, too. I'll share it because I was trying to find it in the archive. But you and I were probably talking about it, my podcast, even back then. I remember one thing you telling me was that maybe at that time he'd been here a little long, Barger himself, and then just how he progressed up pretty quickly. And then his major league debut was 2024, was it not?
That sounds right, yeah. Yeah.
right? And then obviously he's entrenched himself in the Blue Jays lineup, being an outfielder, and look at some of his play last year, in the regular season and the playoffs and the home run in the World Series. I mean, it really doesn't seem like it's that long ago that he was here, and it's nice to see that progress, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it just goes to show when you come out to a Canadiens game, you're seeing a future major leaguer, but sometimes it might not be the obvious one. But you can always say, yeah, I remember him when. And that's always kind of the neat thing about watching minor league baseball here in Vancouver.
Yeah. All right, well, let's keep rolling here because we got other steps to chat about. So just obviously you mentioned the Addison Barger thing. That moved us into obviously this week's series against the Everett Aquasox, just a team from just down the I-5 there in Everett, the high A affiliate of the Seattle Mariners. What can we expect from the Aquasox this week?
Well, the Aquasox, they seem to be the one team that they don't mind playing here at Nat Bailey Stadium. They seem to hit their share of home runs. And, I mean, yes, the Canadiens were able to have their way with them in the 2023 Northwest League Final. But, yeah, Everett always seems to give the Canadiens a handful. There's certainly on a team that the Canadiens dominate. Usually it's Tri-City. That's a team that the Canadiens have been able to dominate, except for this year. But I don't know. It just always seems like, yeah, Everett's always they're always you can always count on them to give the Canadiens a tough time. And I guess that's the big rivalry here because they're, of course, as you mentioned, just down the I-5 and just about 2.5 or 3 hours away. So.
Right.
They're led by Felden Celestin. That's one of their top prospects at shortstop. Adam Meyer, of course, who pitched quite well against the Canadiens in his professional debut here at the Nats. So those are kind of the guys you could expect to see. And yeah, Everett just they always seem to give the Canadiens a tough time, and I'm expecting the same to continue this week as this first half wraps up.
Yeah, so what can we expect then? Obviously, the first half wrap up. I'm trying to remember if there's a break after the first half. No, not really, right? Just plow right into the next 6-game series.
That's right. Yeah, actually, the second half of the season will begin midway through their road series in Hillsborough. So that's when the second half begins. So basically, the first 3 games really mean nothing in terms of the final standings. Obviously, the Canadiens, they are not going to catch Eugene for the first half, and they're very close. Clinching. I know Everett will still have something to play for. They're still trying to catch Eugene, even though the odds are looking really slim for that to happen. No, for the Canadiens right now is just basically just trying to keep on developing, try to develop good habits, and hopefully build some momentum and roll into the second half as you put up the schedule right there. So June 26th is when the second half of the year begins. And then it's those Eugene Emeralds. They'll be back again. So it seems like we're seeing quite a lot of the Emeralds, just the way the schedule's worked. We're going to see a lot of the Everett Aquasox here. I believe Everett is back here one more time in the second half. And the team only goes to Everett once, and that is in August. So it's just been a quirky schedule. Hasn't been the greatest of schedules for the Canadiens. They start the year on the road, end the first half of the road, begin the second half of the season on the road, and then end the year on the road. And yeah, that's not exactly great scheduling. And it's got to be a little bit more equitable. Either you start at home or finish at home, or it can't be just the road all the way through. So yeah, it's not been a kind schedule for the Canadiens, but they'll have a chance to try to finish up the first half strong. They go to Spokane after this Everett series, and as it turns out right now, of course, with the result last night with the Dust Devils beating the Canadiens, the Canadiens, the best they can do is only a split. They've only won one series so far in 2026, and that was in Spokane back in April. That was when they had taken 4 out of 6. It looked like they were starting to build some momentum. When Arjun Namala was still with the team, they were able to get to 9-9 at one point, and then unfortunately, things just took a turn for the worse, and they haven't quite recovered. But, we've had some good individual performances. As you said, we had Nolan Perry being named Pitcher of the Week. We had Carter Cunningham being named Player of the Month back in April.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, exactly.
Tucker Tobin. So, yeah, again, it hasn't been totally bad, hasn't been totally great either, but, there have been some bright spots, some sun peeking through the clouds at times.
Yeah, and I was just noticing with the batter's box updates too, when I talk about a couple more Canadiens things before we go, is when I was moving through them. And when people think the Blue Jays are struggling, the amount of Blue Jays players, Mad Max shirts are obviously in Buffalo and doing a rehab stint, didn't pitch very well, right? Who else did I find? I found well, obviously Jake Blas is with the DJs. Javan Coleman is down there. And obviously, there was one other game I saw, or for Buffalo, Shane Bieber's down there. So,
that's right.
Yes. People wonder why the Jays are struggling, and I'm like, well,
yeah, it's been
not all of it.
Yeah, it's only been New Hampshire that has really stood out. They've had them and the Florida Coast League Blue Jays, the only teams winning records in the system. So, yeah, so we just have to hope things get better in the second half, and that's really all you can do at this point. Just hope for the best.
Yeah, is there anybody you think coming up from Dunedin that's going to make an impact in the second half? I'm not even expecting the Seas to win the second half. I don't know if that's this kind of season, but
I think there will be a couple of players to look out for. It depends. Maybe JoJo Parker, might see him maybe late season, but wouldn't surprise me either. Like with Arjun Namala, they let him develop the whole season low in Dunedin, so that might be the case as well. But Juan Sanchez, he's been coming on as of late, but again, a really young guy. I'd be surprised if we did see him in Vancouver in 2026. But maybe some of the pitchers, I think Dylan Watts, he's been a pitcher that's shown some promise lately, and I believe he won a Pitcher of the Week award not that long ago. So he might be somebody to look out for on the pitching side. Blaine Bullard, he's been stealing quite a lot of bases for Dunedin. I believe he was a 12th round pick of the Blue Jays last year. So it's someone to look out for. So, yeah, I'm not sure if there's going to be a lot of help from Dunedin coming, but, keep in mind as well, the draft is going to roll around soon. So once the new signees get all worked in, that's where you're going to see a lot more player movement. And unfortunately, maybe some player releases as well. That's kind of the way it's been going now with the draft having been, the draft just kind of affecting things now. So, yeah, it's who knows, but I think we're going to see a lot more roster churn as the
and trades too, because I remember distinctly, can't remember the exact trade. I should look it up, but here it is from 2022 when the Jays traded. Got Mako and Eric Swanson from the Mariners for Teoscar, and then just how Mako ended up here after that.
That's right.
Right,
yeah,
and he was,
Yeah, still remember for the Everett Office Sox when he had a brief cameo. One of the starts was here in Vancouver and did pretty well for himself. And speaking of Addison Barger, I kind of remember Mako was striking out Barger. I think it was on like some 67-mile-an-hour curveball, and totally had Addison Barger bamboozled. That's kind of the one thing. That's kind of the first memory that pops up when I think of Adam Mako. And I have to admit, I have a certain affinity for Adam because he did grow up in Ireland for a bit and did actually play some baseball in Ireland, and and of course was the winning pitcher in Game 1 of the 2023 Northwest League Championship Series. Was able to shut out his former team in 5 innings, and it was a big reason why the Canadians were able to win the league championship. So, so that's things that I think of when I think of Adam Mako.
All right, thanks. Now let's wrap it up there, and we'll check in with you again in another month or so. That was a really, really fantastic update. It's good to see you. And just so people are aware, I'm going to flip this over on the podcast side. CSPlusBaseball.ca is where you get all your or a lot of really great C's content from Niall, and you can also check out battersbox.ca. I'm writing a weekly update for Battersbox, and we'll talk to everyone soon. Thanks, Niall.
Well, thanks a million for having me on, Ben.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. You too. Thanks, man.